gospel, light of the temple. Short swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Black burial, the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One, and this is episode number... Hey, Cam, what episode is this? 30. Oh, episode number 30. All right, man. So, actually, we have a couple bonus episodes out there, but actual in-studio guests we call episodes. And then we have some Zoom, episodes. Those are called bonus episodes. So, I was pretty happy to get this next guest right here. But before we get to this guest, I want to remind everybody, please, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast on, whatever podcast platform you listen to. And please share it. If you hear a good episode, you think somebody will like it, send it to them. Let them check it out, and we appreciate it. Also, check out our merch. If you can purchase a shirt, that supports the podcast, and we appreciate it. But anyways, we're going to get back to episode number 30. And like always, I got to play a little music. So for this guest, I thought I'd play something a little bit different, something that matches where he comes from. And, got to put on a little punk rock. So this guy right here, he is a believer. He is a husband, a father, a grandfather, right? He's a pastor. He's an author. He's an old school punk rock head. There's no getting around that. He's a longtime friend. He used to be a hooper back in the day, believe it or not. I seen him hoop. Not bad. Not bad. Okay? Nobody doesn't know that part of the story, but maybe we'll get into it. He's a Raider fan. Okay? Now, y'all know me. I always rock the Raider stuff. Wore a different hat today. But I've never met a Raider fan I didn't like. True. Saved, unsaved, jerk. I like all Raider fans. Black, white, Mexican, whoever they are. But to announce our guest and welcome him to the Street Gospel Podcast, I want everybody to give it up for my friend, longtime friend, Pastor Kelly Lohrke.
All right.
What's up, man?
Let me validate my Raider fan. I'm a Raider fan in Kansas City.
I know.
I'm in the enemy's camp. You got to be a real Raider fan.
I know. I mean,
my last Raider Chiefs game I went to, I had a sign, held it up, said, "Go Chiefs and take the Royals with you."
It's awfully tough to be a Raider fan in KC. But especially
there's a lot of us there.
But especially right now, though. I mean, because we got to face the facts. They're pretty good.
Mahomes is vicious.
I mean, I had Taco God in here, and he's a huge KC fan. So I couldn't talk smack to him. There was really nothing I can say because they're so good.
At the Chiefs Stadium, we have a section, a little mini black hole where all the Raider fans hang out at. The Chiefs fans, when you look down on the blimp, they call it like a speck of cancer. We're all black.
Hey, maybe it'll start spreading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, why is that? Is a lot of people moved from...
There's actually a Raider Nation chapter in Kansas City, and a couple years ago, I think it was 2019, I got invited, a mutual friend of ours, Joey, and he said, "Hey man, we need someone to do like prayer and like a little exhortation, like all crazy Raider fans." I mean, there's vendors there, there's a band.
So there's the whole community.
There's hundreds of people there, hundreds. They're all dressed up. So I go there and I preached, and people were like touching. Everyone's drunk. It was hilarious. And they're like, people are like, "Man, can you be our chaplain for Raider Nation?"
Nice. Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, love it.
I mean,
my church has to boo me twice a year, but they got to love me.
I always tell everybody the church, especially in SoCal, was built on Raider fans becoming Christians and building the church. I mean, some of the best guys are pastors now with stuff, but originally they were Raider fans. I mean, it's pretty amazing, man. But how's it going, man?
It is great. Great
Yeah.
to be here. Love you, my friend.
I love you too, man.
It's great to see what the Lord's done in your life, and great to be a part of this phenomenal podcast.
So we've been friends for
Since you were a teenager.
right. I mean, you 30 years?
87.
Yeah.
That's when I met your dad in 1987.
I was 13 years old. I mean, that's a long time to be friends. So let's get something off the table right here, right? Something really, 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 really easy. I remember being a youth. We used to play basketball, right?
Yeah.
We go up to Camp Rocky to play against Camp Rocky is a juvenile detention center.
Juvenile detention center.
We go up there. We got our butts kicked by those dudes. I remember them all being tough, good ball players. We went up there. We were supposed to tell them.
I actually preached at the chapel afterwards.
Yeah, we were supposed to tell them about Jesus and talk to them, but we really got our butts kicked by those guys. I think we thought we were going to do better, but we sucked. We come down the hill, right? I think we get off the freeway, and we had some other guys in the truck with us, right?
Brand new converts.
There was not no new
Yes,
converts.
there was a new convert in the car.
Okay, so I remember being all young guys, teenagers. Maybe the oldest one was 17, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. Had to be what age? I mean,
I would have probably been about 20.
you were still young too,
22,
right?
23.
So I was in the back with you and maybe two other guys. We squeezed into this little well, I don't think it was a Tacoma back then, but a little Toyota truck.
So listen, before you go any further, I'm going to let you say, and I'm not going to interrupt you.
Okay.
But you don't interrupt me when I share my version.
Okay, so we're going to agree.
I know this is going to be a little conflict here.
We're going to agree we're probably going to have to agree to disagree. I think that's the route we've been on for the last
30 from
no,
the
not
very
30 years. We used to agree at one point. I think the last 10 years we probably changed it up a little bit.
Let's go ahead. Let's clarify.
Okay.
Number one, first thing, I was saved.
You were saved. I was saved too.
Okay, let's just keep on. You were in church. Let's go. Come on.
I was saved too.
Let's hear your story.
Okay, so we're riding the truck, and the guys in the front. This is how it starts. The guys in the front put on DJ Quick, right? I think it was either.
Every song was every
no.
other word was the F word.
It was only one song though. It was either
bad.
I don't remember what song it was, but I remember that it was either Born and Raised in Compton or it was Tonight Is the Night. It was one or two, and we kept playing that. But,
for a purpose.
Okay, okay, we'll agree on that. So we played it.
Why don't you tell them the purpose? That kind of like sets your whole integrity of your story up.
No. The purpose was initially we played it. You got upset. Okay, true. You were like, "Don't play that stuff."
Let's not forget these are pastors' kids.
There was one pastor's kid in the truck, and it was his truck. Okay, it was I think Black James, Steve Murray, Vince, me,
you.
And it was probably one other guy. I don't know who it was, but I remember it being one other guy.
There was a new convert in the car.
Okay, maybe that was it. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was him, right? But I remember it was James, Vince, me, Jason, and new convert, and you. So I don't remember who the new convert was. Neither do you.
Yeah, I brought him. I don't remember his name though.
Okay, so we put on the music, right? Everybody's bobbing their head. You get upset.
Wait. Why was I upset?
Wait, because it did have some cursing, right?
A lot of cursing.
Okay, so it had everybody out there knows DJ Quick, right? It's not Lecrae. So we put it on. You're getting upset. I don't think there was a new convert in the car, and I'll tell you that my theory. Hold on. My theory. So we put it on. You got upset. They keep putting it on, right? And it is kind of looking back. It was kind of funny because you were getting really hot. So I think the whole joke of it wasn't just. It was kind of because you were getting mad. We get to like Gage in Bell Gardens, right?
Yep. Right over the riverbed.
Right? You lived in Bell. You were mad. You said, "Let me out of the truck." I think we probably played at least 3 times by then, right? Mm-hmm. You get out of the truck and you said, "I'm walking home." And you walk home.
Right.
Okay. I don't think there was a new convert in the truck.
I that's the whole reason why I was mad. But go ahead. How much you finish your version?
I don't think there was a new convert in the truck because you wouldn't have left him. You would have told him, "Hey, let's get out together."
No, that's. But let's go ahead. You want me to like comment? I can commentate. We can make this real short. We dropped him off right after. Right after we dropped him off is when I said, "Get me out of the car."
Okay.
What happened was
Okay.
The reason why I got upset. This guy's in the back seat shaking his head. He's like, "Why are they playing this?" He goes, "That's the pastor's son. Why are they playing this?" And I'm like, "Dude, you guys turn it off." And of course, you guys were antagonizing me, and that's why I'm like, "Dude, turn it off." And then Jason and Vince are just playing it even louder, and it's like, I mean, hey, I look back in that time, what was happening. It was divine chaos in that church, and so like, I mean, come on, bro. Chris should be listening to this stuff dropping F-bombs, but we're all they're new converts. And that was a new convert. We just got done preaching,
right?
And we're listening to this. And so, like, yes, I'm going to just finish my part.
Go ahead.
And so, dropped them off, and I said, look, man.
Okay. I don't remember that part, but okay.
And then I got out of you guys, I said, you know what, pull over, man. I'm just going to walk home the rest of the way. And I remember Vince and Jason, they'll forget you. And they just took off. I kept walking. You guys came back for me. When you came back for me, I said, I ain't getting back in that car unless you let me break that tape. You got the tape, you broke it. I prayed with you guys. And then I looked at you and I said, all right, man, thanks for breaking the tape, but I'm still going to tell your dads what you did.
Yeah.
And that's my story.
Okay. So I don't remember breaking.
Is this why you brought me on?
No.
Like, to publicly, once and for all.
No, this is friends talking about old times. This is great stories, right? This is young Kelly, young Dave, super young Dave. Not an excuse. Not an excuse.
No.
Not an excuse.
You guys love God. You were teenagers.
But yeah, a teenager growing up in the church.
And I'm a radical. I'm a radical new convert.
Okay, yeah. but and I'll get to that. I got a good thing about that, and I want to ask you about that. So this is kind of leading up to that. This is not just a story. This is a fun story. Sometimes I laugh. Okay, we're gonna disagree on some parts, but I'm gonna get to one part. You did tell Brother Neville, right? Pastor Neville. You told him.
I told your dad.
You told my dad. The funny thing about that is we got to church the next day. Pastor Neville called me and Jay and the guys.
Oh, I don't know about this part.
Okay, so he calls us over. Hey, Kelly told me about what happened. And I said, so we're a little scared, right? We're a little nervous.
How old were you by then?
We were
17?
Probably 16. So I'm a little nervous. Here's our pastor. We love him, highly respected, right? I'm like, oh, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And he goes, hey, boys, Kelly told me what happened. You can't be listening to that type of music. I don't want to hear you guys listen to that music. And he drops it right there. Like, that's it.
Right.
And we're going, yeah, brother, no. So I get home, and my dad goes, hey, come here. Kelly told me what you guys did yesterday. And I said, yeah, Dad. Pastor Neville already talked to us about that. He got on us, and he told us. And my dad goes, Pastor Neville talked to you guys? I said, yes. He goes, okay, then. Don't be doing that. And I got off the hook because Pastor Neville talked to us, but he didn't really scold us. It was like right before service.
You know what's crazy? I'm not trying to over spiritualize what happened, but my son wasn't even born yet. My son's 30, so this is how long this is.
Yeah.
I actually had, when I told you guys, I said, look, I love you guys, and I'm not trying to make myself look like a perfect guy, but I did say, one day if I have a son, I would like to know what happened. Does I care about you? Now, Ken, that's how I remember it. And little did I know, my wife ended up having a son, and James got busted doing the same type of stuff all the time. With his little iPod back then, though, you could hide stuff easier on an iPod.
I have
music's a temptation.
I have young adult children, and sometimes I have to tell them, hey, what are they saying right there? Because I catch on quickly, right? And I say that.
And remember, though, too, Dave, when we in the 80s, when we got saved, me and your dad and all of us, it was a time like when you got saved, like you broke your old music, you went for God, you didn't want nothing in your life. And sometimes us first generation Christians, we put that experience on the second generation and group. It's different.
But okay,
Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense, and that was segueing me into my next question. The question is sometimes, it's like this, and I made this analogy before. It's almost like you guys had to go through all kinds of stuff, and then you get saved, right? And so you're more grateful. It's like a guy that works to buy a car, and then the guy that the dad buys the car for him and gives it to him, right? It's kind of like that analogy here.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times you guys come out of this, like my dad, like plenty of guys in that first generation that gave their life to God, they go through hell, right? I mean,
the Bible says, forgiven them much, the response is love much.
Broken homes, drugs, and then you get saved and you're like, I don't want no part of that no more. And then the second generation, we've just known a good home,
right?
Food on the table, no drugs, and then we're just going to church. There is a tricky part about that, correct?
And it has to do with perspective. So, like, it's hard because you guys needed to get saved just like us, and you were sinners just like us, but somehow we look at drugs, sleeping around, and gangbanging more of a sin than just lying and listening to DJ Quick. We categorize sin, and that's why it's harder for your generation. They've been in church all the time. They still need you, and you did, but your generation has to have their own encounter.
Yes.
We can't make it like ours. You know what I mean? Of course, we don't want our kids to go through the same stuff we went to. You know what I mean? But you're right. It is hard for that next generation.
I've learned. I've had a lot of church kids, grew up in church, that come through here, right? And we've talked about the encounter. And I was very, I don't know, man, enlightened, disturbed, a little discouraged, because I realized that many kids that grow up in the church, second, third generation, are hurt. But not only that, is they never have that encounter, right? And I had a couple guys that came here, and I asked them, and Sylvia, she grew up in church, and I said, did you ever have an encounter like God touched you? Because I remember that. I remember being a little kid, and God, I felt it.
Right.
And I had the encounter. I talk about Cam having the encounter. But there was kids that grew up in the church, and they were kind of like our parents that went to Catholic church, right? It's just what we do. We just go.
And I think sometimes the parents I've watched I got saved in this amazing church. There was 1,200 people from the streets, all first generation Christians, all ex-gangbangers and crazy stuff, and God was moving. But then I watched parents overcompensate for their kids. I'm going to protect them so much. I'm going to give my kid what I never had. And they kind of smother them and play God to them where God can't be God for them. And then there's others, remember, they're first generation marriages that made it too, are first generation Christians. So like, I didn't know how to be a dad or a mom. We learn all that. We didn't have great examples. So, some parents just assumed their kids are in church, that's good enough. You drop them off. They meant well. They just didn't know how to be a dad or a mom, to pray with them, spend time with them, or listen to them. You know what I mean? Just go in the back, hang out, the kid. So it's that, all I know is this: raise up your child in the ways of the Lord, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it. Doesn't say nothing about them teenage years. The word of God doesn't return void. And everyone, like me, I can look back at my life and say, man, I wish I would have never done the stuff I did. And probably in the natural, heck yeah, I hurted a lot of people. But if that's what it took for me to realize I was lost, does that make sense?
Yeah.
We have to come to a place to realize we're lost without Jesus to find him. Or else it is just a religion. So
I agree. I think growing up in church, you don't realize you're lost. You don't realize you need salvation. That was one good thing I would say about my parents. A lot of good things, but that was one good thing, was that my dad would constantly remind us, I'm concerned about your soul.
Yeah.
Are you saved? It really, and I'm really grateful. Wasn't a perfect father, wasn't a perfect mother, my mom, but for where they came from, and not having a father and a mother in the home and consistency. I thought they did a really good job with being parents.
Well, let me say this about your dad, because I met your dad when I was 19. When I got saved, he was the new convert teacher, the new believers teacher, and I went right, when I got to church, I went right to that class. And your dad followed up on me. I remember he took me on an outreach, took me on a follow-up. I didn't know what the heck it was. He just let me hang out with him. And that made an impact, because not only was I a new convert, being a white boy with blue hair in a church of nothing but a bunch of guys from F13 and 18th Street, I was, like 3 or 4 white people in the church of 1,200. You know what I mean? Like, you can feel a little alienated in the beginning, and so forth. Your dad really, I remember him making sure that I was cool. So he made an impact on my life.
So good, man. I appreciate that story, man. Like always, man, you always give me a good little nuggets here and there of my dad, and definitely an impact. You grew up Garden Grove?
No, well, I grew up I ended up in the Downey School District.
Okay.
So I grew up in that area. My family was from Huntington Park and Bell.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, right, it's all right there.
Yeah. Bell, Southeast, everything. Now, I mentioned that you're an author, and you wrote a book called Punker to Pastor.
I have a new one coming out right now, too.
What's it called?
Hardcore Disciple.
Okay. Nice title. In the beginning of the book, you talk about how you grew up,
right,
and your dad and mom separating.
6 weeks old.
6 weeks old.
Didn't make it.
Didn't make it. Were you only child?
Yes. My mom, no, she never hooked up again.
Never.
No, I mean, she had boyfriends.
Boyfriends.
Yeah.
So my dad grew up with just his mother, 4 brothers. Just you. It's always a mix of chaos, because usually the mom has to work, and there's no dad in the house, and you're kind of left to roam on your own.
Yeah, there was a term back in the 80s called Latchkey Kid. You would come home with a key hidden somewhere, and you waited till your mom came home. So like from age 12, I started going home by myself, and the key was like underneath the doormat or hidden somewhere, and I'd be home alone, And but when you're a kid, your friends kind of figure out, hey, there's no one at Kelly's house, so come on over. There's no parent supervision. So it starts off innocent at 12, but at age 13 is the early 80s, and the culture was very much excess. Drugs were excess, and it was weird. All of my friends did drugs, but their parents did drugs. They all smoked weed. They all took pills or coke. It was really big back then. And it was weird because my friends' parents knew that their kids did that, and as long as they were honest, that was the mentality.
Because a lot of those parents are probably like hippies and stuff, right?
That's because, remember, our parents grew up in the 60s. So I know my mom had her moments like that, because I know her friends got high. I remember all that stuff. I remember the weeds, the tarot cards. I remember all this stuff in my house. And but my mom acted like she was cool. 13, I started taking pills and getting high. 14 is when I started smoking opium. It just was in the neighborhood.
Were you just curious?
I don't even know if I was curious. I just think, hey, try this. I wasn't like out looking. Just my friends did it. Probably wanted to be accepted.
And it probably wasn't nothing. You probably thought there's nothing wrong. Everybody is doing this, right?
I was bored. I didn't have nothing going on. So and then I started taking LSD at 14.
14.
Yep.
So by 14, you've pretty much done the gamut of everything.
No, not yet. It got worse. Oh. So I made a decision. I'm going to come home one day. I told my friends, and I remember talking to one of my friends, Mom, I'm going to be honest with my mom, like so-and-so's with you. And so I came home one day, and I said, Mom, I want to talk to you. I want to be honest with you. I was like so sincere. And I go, Mom, I get high. I want to be truthful with you. So I slid my bed back and I pulled out a bong. This is my bong. And she's just looking at me and I'm telling her.
Because you wanted help or because
no,
you just
I didn't want to get high. I still wanted to get high. I just wanted to tell her. I wasn't like asking for help. And she's just looking at me. Now, I'm going to say, I'll say whatever today, but I want you to know this is in my book. And my parents know what I've shared. I'm going to say some strong stuff, but I looked at her and I told her, and she's kind of like stared at me. Within 24 hours, my mom had me locked up at a mental institution for 8 months.
8 months.
8 months.
At 14.
At 14. And when I mean a mental institution, I mean, I know the address because I broke out of there several times, 6060 Paramount Boulevard. And they took my clothes. They put me in 5-point restraints. There was adults there. And I remember laying on this bed strapped up, like, how could my mom do this to me? And anger, just anger. And I mean, there was crazy. It was a crazy place.
Because you're just
I'm gonna
have a drug problem.
And there's crazy
and there's
people,
psycho
suicide,
right?
Molesters. It was crazy, bro. You know, one of my roommates was in there for sleeping with his sister and his brother. It's just like, it was crazy. Ugh. And I'm in the midst of all this. And then there for 8 months, I broke out. And I remember I broke out. And then I got caught. And I got back. And then I actually got into the punk scene right before. Started listening to it. But like, there were some punkers in there that we really got into it. And I broke out with one punk rocker. The second time, he had to go. They took all my clothes from me, so I'm wearing a hospital gown every day. Oh. And this guy snuck some clothes in the room, and he goes, "We're breaking out." He had 2 mohawks, and we ran out. He kicked down the door. We ran, and all these kids started running out. These crazy kids started running in the street, and we ended up from Paramount. Ended up in. They were chasing us in their vans, okay, and we got caught in a cul-de-sac, and I heard music, and I seen a bunch of Harleys, and I go, "Come on!" And I ran and I pounded on this door, and these biker girls opened the door, and they see me in my hospital gowns, and they go, "Hey, the crazy kids are here," and they let us in, and they hid us from the hospital, and we stayed there for a day and a half with these bikers, and then they took us to Redondo Beach because his parents were on a vacation. And he was Mormon. I remember this. And we went to his house for a couple days. No one knew where we were. Then all of a sudden, the cops knocked on his front door. Oh. And they're asking for me, but not him. For some reason, they had the names all messed up. And he goes, "There's nobody else here." But they heard me in the house, and the cops came in, cuffed me. And then on the radio, they go, "Did you get the other one with the 2 mohawks?" And they went back and got my friend. Oh, man. We went to jail. And then the jail took us back to the hospital. And you know, I graduated from that mental institution. My mom's insurance ran out. That's pretty much it. They said, "You graduate." So I came out with such rage, such anger. And
were you already angry before you got there?
I can't really identify that I was angry. I mean, I had an anger problem. Heck yeah. I know I had an anger problem, you know. And yeah.
8 months, just, 14 years old. That
is rough.
Straight jacket out. That's rough. That's pretty scary, and that could do a lot of harm than good.
And I was getting high in there. Here's the hilarious thing: one of my punker friends, I just met, I just told you I just seen him. Him and his brothers were on my visitors list. How does that happen? So they come visit me, full contact visit, and hand me weed under the table. I'm in the bathroom smoking a joint, blowing it into the vent. It just was bizarre. And then everyone's trading their Thorazine, their lithium. Everyone's trading their pills. It was just a madhouse. You know what? Honestly, maybe there were some people that cared. I'm going to tell you the truth. One time I had a weekend pass. I literally went to a staff member's house in Seal Beach. He was a surfer, Hawaiian guy. Great guy. Went to his house, smoked weed, came back, and he UA'd me, and I got busted. But I smoked the weed at his house.
Wow.
It was just a sham. It was a sham.
Insurance scam, right? You get out.
I get out and
do you go back home?
Yeah, I go back home, and I'm still 14 for a few months, and I'm partying. You know, I'm angry. I'm messed up, and now I remember it was my birthday. This is how bad I was. It's my birthday, and I got about probably 6 of my friends in my bedroom. I'm getting loaded. We're smoking weed, getting high, listening to music. I'm a terrible kid to my mom. My 2 grandparents, my mom's parents and my dad's parents, not my dad, were in the other room. And and I know they're all mad that I'm in there with my friends getting high. There's nothing they can do. Remember, I'm a big guy. I'm a big kid. I outpowered my mom. And I remember my grandfather knocked on the door and he tells me, hey, I want to talk to you. And both my grandfathers were big German guys. And they go, hey, you can't stay here. You can't be here and do this. And I I cussed, oh, baloney, I ain't listening to you. And I went back in my room. Probably about 10 minutes later, with all my friends in there, these crazy 2 old Germans come in there, and bodies are flying, bro.
Oh.
And my friends are jumping out the window, right? And all of a sudden, my grandfather, they're both named Fred, by the way. So one goes, grab him, Freddie. The other one says, hold him, Freddie.
Oh, God.
And the other one's hitting me. They're just blowing like Clint Eastwood, old man hits, like just can't stop. And he's going, hold him, Freddie, hit him, Freddie, hold him, Freddie. And they threw me out my window through the glass. And my friends are pulling me out the window. And pretty much that was it. I literally never came home. That was it.
16.
Yeah. And I remember my friends, this is a crazy story. We walked down to Thompson Park, over there in Bellflower, right after this happened. And I'm at the 7-Eleven, and this punk rock girl who I met at a thrift store, who was like 5 years older than me. She was way older than me. She was in her 20s. And I went home with her and her friends and just hung out. She's there, and I go, what are you doing in my neighborhood? She goes, well, we just got an apartment across the street. And I go, I don't have nowhere to live. She goes, come live with us. Same day.
Wow.
So I moved in with these 2 girls that were part of a gang called the Lads, the LA Death Squad. It was a punk rock gang in Hollywood. And so I'm hanging around these guys, and I'm the young kid. And next thing you know, people are shooting up dope. So right then I started shooting up dope at a young age. And it started from coke, meth, speed, whatever I get my hands on. And that's it, man.
And you were in the punk rock scene now?
Oh, I was already in it, going to concerts, everything. And
that was it. That was the kind of the LA origin scene, right?
Yeah.
I mean, punk rock scene. That's kind of where it started, right?
Yeah, oh, I think so. I mean, there's a debate about that or New York, just.
I mean, on the West Coast.
West Coast, yeah. I mean, West Coast. So, Circle Jerks, Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, all those bands. We've seen them all.
And you're there in the scene. What is the punk rock scene for those people out there that don't know? What does it consist of? Is it just anger, rebellion?
I'll tell you what it's not. So I want you to think about Hot Topic, and it has nothing to do with Hot Topic. All right?
Right?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, it was organic. I mean, you couldn't even really buy records at record stores. Very few record stores that had stuff. There was Middle Earth Records in Downey. That was it. But you couldn't go to any of those other places. You bought them out at the concerts. They were selling them there.
So we're talking underground. It was underground.
It was. It wasn't like you were going to an arena. You ended up at a warehouse. They sold tickets to a warehouse or somebody's backyard, or if you made it big, the Olympic Auditorium had some big concerts like that. And there was the Cathay de Grand on Hollywood and Vine. Finders was a place in Long Beach we went to a lot. Madame Wong's, the Anti-Club. There was some clubs, but it was not big stuff.
That's crazy, man.
But
what was the attraction to the punk rock scene for you?
For me, you know what? so they were like the misfit kids. You know, it was not cool to be a punker when I was a kid. It was not cool. You went to school, you're like, you know,
you're really an outcast. Now you go to school, you're a punk rock, you're like a cool kid.
You got your leather jacket, your boots, you got your stuff, and the jocks, the football players, they're spitting on you, throwing food at you. You got to be ready to take it. And, yeah. And then, of course, the derogatory comments that were made back then. I mean, I got arrested just by the way I looked a few times and went to jail. Just by the way I looked. The cop said, I don't like the way you look. It took me to jail.
Now you posted a video recently, and it was the cops are showing up to some of the concerts and treating you guys like it was
they beat
kind of like it was a rap concert or a, you know, like we would say now, like it was just like it was totally bad. Let's go arrest these kids.
It was the Mendiola's Ballroom. I actually remember the Dead Kennedys were going to play the week before, and that concert got canceled, and so they moved the tickets over to this concert, and it was on Pacific Boulevard. And I remember who I went with. We went upstairs. It was upstairs, and the concert's going on, and then all of a sudden, it's all a bunch of kids. They oversold the tickets. It was overcrowded. Okay,
they always oversold.
Yeah, there was a guy at Middle Earth Records. His name was Jeff. He was selling like bootleg tickets. So, what ended up happening was the fire marshal tried to shut it down. No one's listening, and I had a friend, a real good friend. He actually took me to my first concert when I was like 14. The Vandals, my very first concert, and he couldn't get in. We're inside. And there was a cop car underneath the Mendiola's Ballroom, and he threw a bottle at the neon light sign, and all the glass came on the cop car, and that was it. That happened outside, but the next thing you know, we're inside upstairs, and literally tear gas canisters come in the window. And we're kids in there. This is before all the social injustice with Rodney King. I've been beat up by cops.
Right.
A bunch of times just because we looked that way. They called you gay. They didn't say that word. They said other words.
Yeah.
And so I'm there. Then a cop comes in and they're spraying it. And then I grab this girl that I was with, and we're getting ready to go downstairs. And there's the LAPD on like every other step against the wall with shields, helmets, and those big black clubs going like this. And that's the only way out. And then we just go down. They hit us down. When we got off on Pacific Boulevard, they actually had the German Shepherds unleashed.
No way.
I'm dead serious. But like the punkers were breaking windows. One of my friends is running down the street with a mannequin he stole out of a store. It was just chaos, man. But most punk concerts kind of ended that way. So, and it was kind of like your little badge of honor. I mean, it wasn't fun because you didn't get to see the band half the time. But there was a lot of them ended in riots.
So it was legit. I mean, it was rebellion.
It was a boys' club too. It was a boys' club. You look at old footage of that stuff. There's girls there. You had to be a tough girl to be at a punk thing. Yeah. But there was a lot of just suburbanite kids, sick and tired of being told what to do. Everyone rubbing at them, pushing on them, and what was your choice? You had disco music and all that other stuff, and then all these preppy kids, and
nowhere to fit in. Society didn't accept you.
No,
I mean, just all the kids that were just like you getting together, and
the music was just angry. It's like I'm sick of everything, and I don't know, kind of tapped into that, that natural rebellion that's in people.
We talked about music earlier and there being a spirit within the music. Is there a spirit within that punk rock music that really brings the anger out?
I think music itself is so powerful. I mean,
good and bad, right?
All music's powerful. God had music, and we know who Lucifer was in the Bible. The enemy in the Bible had music. I mean, there was pretty spiritual when Salome danced before Herod for asking for John the Baptist's head.
Right.
God had music where he'd send out the worshipers in battle before even the soldiers, and the enemy would there's warfare. God inhabits the praises of his people, and you got to guard what you put inside of you. So You just look at it. Whatever music, people may not agree with what I'm going to say, but I firmly believe this. You go to a concert, it's like a church service.
Yeah.
You're just as into it as a worship. You're singing the songs. You're totally into it, and then you have whoever this person is in between ministering their propaganda of life, and usually there's always some kind of a negative thing, so forth.
And where do they learn that from? If you ask them where they grew up, and they usually say
a lot of them
grew up in the
church.
church.
Yeah, and they were hurt, and you know what? Some of those things, I'm not saying it justifies the reaction,
right?
But the church has let a lot of people down in those generations, and they react that way. The only problem is I hear that all the time, and I do believe that. But you're now, okay, wait a minute. You're still going to stand before God. You can get all mad and blame. My parents were bad. The church treated me this way. It sucks. That happens. But what's it got to do with Jesus dying for you? He still died for you. And we're still going to face that. So,
I mean, the word's full of flawed men, right? I mean, it's.
You ever read the very beginning? This is how I would try to of course, the longer you're saved, the more you see flawed people.
Right.
And the closer you get to people, even that you look up to, you realize they're not perfect. Well, no one does it. Look at the most sobering thing to me was Matthew chapter 1, the very first verses of the New Testament, 1 through 6. Abraham begot, this is the lineage of Christ, the seed of Jesus. Abraham begot Isaac, Jacob, liar, conniver. Then it goes on, not Joseph, the good brother, Judah, who had incest with his daughter-in-law. It goes, Rahab's a prostitute,
right.
David an adulterer, murderer. We go down the list, and the Holy Spirit spoke to me one time. If Jesus can move through these characters, I can move through those people in that crazy church you came from. And we just get a little uptight. We kind of forget.
Right.
The longer you're saved, the less you become a little intolerant with people that are different. And, that's why I was...
Do we forget grace?
Yeah.
And mercy a lot?
Yeah, because we kind of forget where we came from, how much God showed us grace and mercy. It's just like, I get it. There's that whole thing between righteousness and grace. I believe in both. You can't if you show too much grace, where it becomes just they call it a greasy grace.
Grace without any discipline.
It's compromise,
right?
Okay, but then if you show too much righteousness with no grace, it becomes legalistic and dangerous. And I don't think there should be a toil. There should be that. We overrate the peace of God a little bit. We think the peace of God, I just feel such peace. Really? Those guys that were being burnt at the stake and beat on their backs and in prison, I don't think they felt physically the peace of God. The peace of God is, I'm in God's will no matter how I feel. You know what I mean? And but anyway, I'm my personal life, this whole conversation kind of started about forgive them much, love much. God really touched me. I'm very, very thankful. I OD'd several times. I was messed up. When I came to Jesus, everyone gave up.
How old were you when you came to God?
I was 19. I was 19 years old.
And how long were you just running wild?
From pretty much since 14 and then coming out of the hospital the whole time.
So 5 years of just hitting it.
I'm just going to, so I'm shooting up. And then I'll tell you how, and I'm just saying because this is the podcast to share your story, right? So, it's not like I'm not trying to be the bragamony type guy on this, but it's just a reality. I mean, as I look back at my life and then I look at, my son, or I look at you and your dad, where we came from, I'm putting on ski masks, robbing coke dealers as a kid, stealing. I remember what made it really bad for me was money. I was making a lot of money as a kid selling LSD. A girl would drop me off at LAX. I remember this clearly. To buy a plane ticket cost $125, and you didn't need an ID back then. I'd buy a plane ticket to San Francisco by myself, take the BART, which is like a subway,
yeah.
all the way to Berkeley, go to Haight-Ashbury, and I'd meet a hippie named Shadow, and I'd buy 20 sheets of LSD, and it was just like a fraction of the cost here in Los Angeles, and it was real LSD, and I'd take some, get high with this old guy. This guy's like a deadhead from the Grateful Dead movement, way older than me. But he was like, he liked me. It was weird, man. And he literally would give me the acid. I'd fly back the same day, totally on acid.
Oh.
Pick me up, and I'd sell all that at what the cost here. And I had my own house and everything. I had my own house. And everyone knew I sold LSD and that was like the punk rock drug. And
what was it about LSD that made
I don't know, you just fried. You're seeing things, and it was bad. And but with all that money, and then you're shooting up dope, you're addicted. And sin's fun for a season. Yeah, I was the tough guy. I'm the guy that bought. I bought everything. You have your friends around you, and then.
When does the addiction take over
I'll tell you,
the fun?
One day I came home and something was wrong. And this was what's terrible. I got kicked out of every school in the school district, but I ended up at Columbus to continuation school. But I didn't do no work there. Columbus was like, you still smoked on campus. I only went there to sell drugs. I literally sold drugs at school, LSD. Because it was all the homeboys there and all the
bad
brothers.
kids.
All the bad kids were there. Like it was, the Breakfast Club all over. And yeah, and I remember the principal, he was so done with me. He had the cops there several times arresting me. And he goes, Lohrke, come here. And I know I was scratching, and my fingernails were yellow. My eyes were yellow. And he goes, you're sick. I'm already peeing blood. I know I have hepatitis. I just didn't get it official. And he goes, you're sick. And I go, no, I'm not. And he goes, you know what? I'm done with you. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I need you to walk out that gate and never come back. You're totally expelled. I go, do I got to sign anything? And he goes, nope. And that was it.
Wow.
And that was it.
Did you have Hep C? Or what'd you have?
Yeah. And then what happened was I went to the doctor, had hepatitis. And so when you're messed up, man, you go to the doctor. When they leave the room, you steal the syringes. You go back to get a blood test. I remember the lady goes, I can't find your vein. I took the needle out of her hand. It's right here. And then I had other marks, and I would try to tell her, I'm a kid.
Man.
And I'm trying to tell her, no, those are from last time I was here. I'm lying. It's so obvious. My mom's in total denial. I told her, I tried to tell her, I got it from a dirty razor, a rusty razor or something. I used my friend. I tried to come up with, she was in denial. I know I broke her heart. And so I was at a punk rock. This is where it really hit me. I'm at a punk rock concert at the Olympic Auditorium, and I'm in a bathroom stall at a Burger King right outside the Olympic Auditorium, and I want to get loaded. And all these punkers are in there. Everyone's hanging out, but I need water. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go out because then they're going to want some. You get a little greedy when you're a dope fiend. And I'm looking, I need water. And then I look at the toilet.
Oh.
And I go, and I fixed up with toilet water.
Wow.
And it really hit me. I'm messed up. I'm messed up. I'm literally just shot up with toilet water in my arm. And that actually really, even though I wasn't saved or anything like that, it just really messed with me. Like, dang, this is pretty bad.
That was the low point.
Yeah. And then after that, there was I can lead this right into how I got saved.
Yeah.
Because at that point, my world's falling apart. I can't sell drugs no more.
At 19.
Yes. I probably just might have been 18, 19. And then we used to work at this machine shop, me and my friend, in Paramount, Long Beach. And the guys were selling coke out of there. They were making Cabbage Patch doll cribs. But it was like literally everyone selling speed and dope in there. And there was this Vietnam dude that worked there. And he was like the head dude. And he was all into the dope. And we would go party all night in Hollywood and just drive straight there just to hang out. Never slept. And I remember, I'm a punk kid. But I'm a junkie now. I'm bad. I'm like messed up. And we're way into the drugs hard. I don't have my place no more. I've lost everything. And I went driving down Long Beach Boulevard on lunch break, getting high with some guys. And I seen the boss with a secretary go to a hotel room. And I'm laughing and I'm telling guys, blah, blah, blah. Well, I come back and he pulls me in this. He goes, "I want to talk to you." And I'm thinking, no problem. Maybe it's about drugs or something. Takes me across the street to a warehouse that's not part of the company. And there's these two big dudes in there. And he pulls down the door. And he turns around. "I'm going to kill you. My wife found out with your little big mouth. You're dead."
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm skinny from drugs. I'm sick. I'm terrified. I go, man. I froze and I got out of there. He goes, you're just like, and I'm like, I don't even know what to say, man. I was so shocked because I'm even high when he's telling me this. And I did something. I never really talked to my dad. I had no relationship with him. When I was little, my mom would send me over there on a weekend or a little bit, but there was always tension. When I OD'd at 16 and they're pumping my stomach, my dad came to the hospital. I remember that, him shaking me all angry, but I didn't have a relationship with him. So now I'm older, and my dad owned
Why did you have a relationship with your dad?
I don't know.
Was it more you?
I think him and my mom didn't get along. There's child support issues. I got caught in the middle of that. He had his own family, and I just didn't want to be around that family thing. Probably because I got away. I didn't have a family. I didn't. You can't miss what you never had.
Right.
Okay. I honestly didn't grow up sad I didn't have a dad. I didn't go in my room and cry or anything like that because I took advantage of the system. I got to do what I want. You know what I mean?
Right.
And later on in life, I'll get to that, how I had a rude awakening when I had a kid. But what ended up happening was my dad had a forklift company for like 30 years right there in Whittier, Santa Fe Springs. Everyone knew him. He worked on everybody's forklifts. And I called him up. And I said, "Dude, someone's trying to kill me. I need help. I've never asked you for anything. And I'm doing horrible as a drug dealer because I'm stinking getting high with everything. And I just need to get out of here." He just said, get in the car and come over. So I go to his shop, and my dad just kind of got saved, like little kid saved, like radical. And he actually got saved at John Wimber's church from Vineyard. But like he got like he's 6'6", and he had these Lohrke's forklift uniforms. Okay, actually, your uncle Paul Calvary, he used to deliver uniforms at my dad's shop. And it said, "In God we trust, Jesus saves, Lohrke's forklift." He put these patches and like it didn't. You can't say my dad's 6'6", huge. You don't tell him no.
Right.
You had to wear these. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm not saved. I'm like drug addict punk rock. I'm not going to do this. And all of he has German mechanics. These other mechanics, they're all wearing this stuff. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So let me back up for a moment. I'm there, and he starts telling me, you got to, in the morning we pray. And I'm like, whatever. And my attitude was bad towards him. So,
and you're still on drugs.
I'm getting high every day, every morning before I even go to work. So the first day, He goes, this is how we pray. Everyone get together. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to close my eyes. This will be over. No, oh, no, not that. Everyone's going to say a prayer. I'm like, what? I don't want to pray loaded. I don't even know what the heck. You know what I mean? It's
Did you have any sense of God?
I did.
But not enough to pray.
It's just not like, it's just too freaky, dude.
Yeah.
You know, talking to God and you're loaded. So, like, I hated that. And so I said, after a week, I said, you know what, this dude, he don't know about, he wants me so bad as a son. I'm just going to show up late. This is the second week. I wasn't planning on staying there. I just did it to get away for a minute. And I go, I'll come to work late. He's not going to fire me. So I came to work like about an hour late. Hey, man, I'm sorry. What are we doing? And he goes, all right, Kelly's here. Let's all pray now. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man. But simultaneously, a mutual friend of ours, Albert Menchaca, was there in Huntington Park, and he was actually renting a house for my grandfather. I'm clueless to any of this. I need a place to go. I got to hide out. So he found out what was going on and allowed me to live in his garage. I'm not saved. Nothing. He's saved. And he came from the hood. And he's married, got 2 kids. And I walk in there, this punk rocker, loaded, and I'm in this guy's garage. And I remember...
Sick.
Yeah. And so he... it was interesting. They're having Bible study in the front house. I'm like, whatever. I'm going, taking off to Ensenada, partying my brains out. And for 3 weeks, though, this weird thing started happening to me. It was simultaneously several things. I started having dreams about hell and like the rapture. Like things are freaking me out. I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm going crazy. And then my dad at work's trying to preach to me. And I'll never forget this. No, I'll never forget this. I'm driving probably about 1 a.m. I have these 2 girls with me, and I'm on my way to the garage doing evil stuff. And I'm right on Florence and Atlantic, and this one girl goes, "Isn't that your dad's van?" And a big old I Heart Jesus sticker on it. And I look, and I'm loaded. I could barely drive. And I go, oh no. I ran him off the road right there at the corner. And I get out of the car. I open the door, and my dad's there with a prostitute.
Oh.
And he's got his hands on the steering with his head down. And I go, what the heck? I'm loaded, and I started talking smack. Oh, God bless you, bro.
Wow.
And I'm putting him down. He won't even look at me. And I go, I'll see you next week. And I went to go confront him hard. I was so angry. I don't want to hear none of this Jesus stuff at this point. And he said, before you say anything, can I just talk to you? I don't really know my dad's past. And he's telling me he just got saved and he's going through deliverance of lust. I don't know what none of that means. But he tells me, you know how your grandfather doesn't go to church, he hates church and all this. And I'm just listening. And he said, we used to go to church when we were little, and a deacon molested him in the church. And my grandfather went ballistic. We used to beat my dad with a 2x4, just out of shame and hatred. I remember my uncle having a nervous breakdown hearing about this when he was a kid, watching my grandfather beat my dad. And my dad's trying to tell me he's battled with lust because I'm not making an excuse. But all of a sudden, the first time I wasn't angry, I actually felt sorry for him. These are my dad telling me this, and I'm a cold-blooded sinner. I don't know how to respond to it. And so, like, I got this side of my dad trying, and all of a sudden, an empathy developed for him. I know this may be like, why is he putting his dad on blast? My dad, I remember when I wrote my book and I was going around the country doing my story, I asked my dad, he goes, you're going to get me in trouble, but if people get saved, tell the story. That's my dad, right? He's supposed to see people get saved. He's the best, man. So now, when you pray for somebody, sometimes they get really bad before they get saved. And I'd encourage any parent, anybody that's out there, you're praying for somebody, it looks like it's not working. It's working. So with all this happening, I'm getting higher. I don't even want to deal with the reality. I'm trying to push this. Now I know the Holy Spirit away. I didn't know then. And I remember it was the beginning of meth. It was called ice back then. It was a speed, very same as meth, but just coming on the scene. And it was cheap. And I remember I went on a high for 3 days. I'm living in the garage. Christians are living in the front. And on the third day, I'm going to a punk concert in Long Beach. It turned into a big old scene. The cops came, broke it up. Me and my friends went to some girl's house in Huntington Beach. A bunch of us when we did that, we just went in there and stole stuff from the parents. It was terrible. We thrashed the houses. My friends are all passed out. I've been awake for 3 days. I'm high as a kite, speed. And something happened to me that night. I got in my vehicle, and I'm driving at like 3, 4 in the morning, and I don't even know why I'm driving. I felt the most evil I've ever felt in my life. Like, I felt like I wanted to rape somebody, kill somebody. I felt like a shark, just like, I don't even know where these thoughts were coming to me. They were so evil. And I'm driving till the sun comes up. And thank God I didn't hurt nobody. I didn't do nothing. But then I finally said, I'm crashing on the drugs, and I'm driving back to the garage. And it's Saturday morning, the third day, and I opened up the garage, and I kid you not, when I walked in, I fell on my knees. I felt like I was pushed. And I've never done this before. I just started crying. No one's there. And I just started crying and crying. And then it just came out of me. God, if you're real, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do? I need you. I can't do this no more. I'm talking about for 2 hours. I bawled.
That's wild.
And when I mean this is actually kind of funny. I don't know if you ever see somebody cry for nonstop. Their eyes swell up like tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's how I was. And I'm just like, I can't even stop. And my body's like tingling. I didn't know what it was. I know the Holy Spirit was there now. I know the Holy Spirit. And I got up. And I felt this weight off of me. And I went to the front house. I knocked on the door. And Albert answers the door. And I go, dude. He goes, yeah, what's up, man? I go, I think something happened to me right now. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I think you call it saved. Something happened to me. I go, literally something happened. He's freaking out. Because he never pressured me. He just prayed for me and loved me. And I go, dude, I think something happened. He goes, man, praise God. And I'm like, but here's the thing, Dave, when I got up, I never drank. I never got high, never even smoked this. I never got loaded. I didn't have a withdrawal.
Wow. Totally delivered.
Not only totally delivered, I went to the doctor, and they said the hepatitis. I'm hep-free completely.
That's insane.
Literally, little miracle. He said, let's go to church tomorrow. Now, I haven't slept for 3 days. This is Saturday. So I did not even wake up for Sunday morning, but thank God for Sunday night service. And I remember rolling to church, and I feel so weird. He's got his 2 little kids, in the back, in a Nova, a Chevy Nova, and he used to have a lowrider van too. And we're driving to church, and I went there Sunday night. I'm like, it's at this right on the corner of Whittier Boulevard and Atlantic at this Golden Gate Theater, and all these cholos there. All these cholos, and I'm like, I'm freaked out. I got my leather jacket on, I got my boots. That's all the clothes I had, and I'm like, my hair's kind of like dirty and spiked, and I just sat there, didn't say nothing, and I remember a guy was preaching. I have no idea what he said. It was so fast, and all he said, if you want God, come up here. I don't even know why I did it. My feet just left my seat, and I ran up there. And Yolanda tells me, she told Albert, you go up there with him. And he just followed me. And we're driving home, and they're freaked out. Remember, I was probably their first white friend. Guaranteed I was their first punk rock friend. And I live in the back. You know, this is a big deal for them, too. And I remember they were like, they don't know me really. I've only been there for a few weeks. And they said, what did you think? And I said, man, can I go all the time?
Wow.
Can I go there? And that was it. I never missed. Literally never missed, bro.
Insane, man.
It just like, it was, you know.
The deliverance. Automatic.
Yeah, it was automatic. But like, okay, so like the first week, 2 things impacted me after that. This is what I'm trying to see Christians do this. So all the wicked stuff I was a part of, and whoever's watching may not understand what I'm about to say. So after I got saved, this never happened to me when I was not a Christian, but after I got saved, I'm in this garage now, and something's attacking me. I'm like, I thought I was going crazy. It was a demon. I don't care what anyone says. It was a demon, and I was getting scratched. I'm not asleep. I'm not dreaming. I'd go back there and be wrestling something I can't see.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm all of a sudden I'm terrified. I don't even want to go in that garage no more. And now if I want to try to find scripture to back this up, but a demon leaves somebody, Jesus said, it comes back and tries to find rest where it was. I don't know what it was. All I know is when I got saved, something happened to me. And it's totally messing with me. And I'm terrified to go back there. And then all of a sudden, it's about a week after couple weeks after my encounter, I ran out of that garage. I didn't have nothing on. 3 a.m, terrified with what's happened. It's like exorcist type stuff. It's just jacked with me. And I'm pounding on the door of that front house. And it's 3 a.m, and Albert opens the door. And I'm like, I can imagine what I look like. I can imagine with my tattoos, I'm dirty and skinny. And I'm like, and I'm panicking. Dude, there's something back there. I'm freaked out, man. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. There's something that keeps attacking me. And you know what he didn't do? He didn't tell me, do you know what time it is? I got to be at work at 5:30. He didn't tell me, you know, I got kids, you're freaking us out. Kelly, come on, let's go back. You know what he did? He said, come in.
Wow.
And he put me on his couch, got a blanket, and he got on his knees and began to pray over me. If he would have shut that door, I don't know how I would have responded, because what I came from with all the music against Christianity and against God, I might have took this, you know, these Christians are fake. I seen Jesus in a Mexican, because the only Jesus the world's going to see is the one that lives inside of you and me. That impacted me major, that this dude cared about me.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And then about 6 weeks being saved, I was like a shadow. I didn't, you know, I'm with this dude all the time. And we got in this lowrider van, and we actually headed out here to Ontario. The church I was out here in Ontario, and there was a men's meeting. There's a few hundred men there. And this guy was preaching, and I'm sitting there, I'm so quiet, I don't know nobody. And this guy's preaching at this men's meeting, preaching about integrity. We need to be men of integrity this and that. And I'm sitting there and I'm real quiet. Everyone's shouting, yeah, come on. We were real militant back then, right? And I remember we're leaving. I get in the van, and he looks at me and he goes, hey, man, how did you like it? Because he's always checking. I'm a new environment for him and me. And I start crying. And he goes, what's up? I go, dude, what's integrity? He goes, what do you mean? I go, I just realized I can't read.
Wow.
He goes, what do you mean? I go, dude, I got kicked out of every school. I have no idea what that word is. I don't even know how to spell that word. I don't know what it means. And all of a sudden I realize I don't know nothing. I can't sell drugs. I'm sober, and it hit me hard in his van. I remember crying. I go, dude, am I going to get a job? What am I going to do? Am I going to, am I going to get married? What's going to happen? And I remember putting his hand on my shoulder and says, listen, man, it's going to be okay. Come to my house every day after work. And we had a big Webster's dictionary, and we read the Bible. And you know where it tells you how to pronounce the word, and we just did it. You know what that is? And we just did that. He had no idea that I'd go on and take Bible school classes. He had no idea that I was going to be a pastor. He had no idea that I'd plant churches. He had no idea that I'd fill up 3 passports around the world preaching all over. I was just a punk rocker living in his garage. He just did it because I was a soul and he cared about me.
That's crazy, man.
He believed in me before I was even saved. And it's easy for us to, the guy got saved, he needs a place to stay. Oh, well, let's give him a chance. This guy impacted my life forever. Yeah. I didn't even know how to pray, David. So I remember him knocking on the garage, waking me up for prayer. He goes, hey, bro, we're going to pray. I go, I don't know how to pray. He would just say, kneel down and listen to me. I go, all right. And Lord, he praying for his wife, his kids. I learned everything from this guy. Just sit down at a dinner table.
Are we missing that?
100%. That's discipleship.
That's,
why
are we missing that? I have a few things why I think we're missing that sometimes. People don't want to give up their time.
Oh, absolutely. So, yes, we've been more performance oriented. We're salt. The church is salting the salt, not the earth. And the Bible says in the book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 10, at the very end, Paul says, verse 33, he says, I please all people and all things that I may save some or many. Okay? That's the last verse of that chapter. That's the King James Version. And we know chapters and verses were not in the Bible. They were put there later on so we can make reference. Well, verse 1 of chapter 11 is supposed to be verse 34. In modern translations, it is. Or if you look at a modern Bible, it's connected to chapter 10. So what's the next verse? I become all things to please. I don't please myself. I please others so I might save some. I'll do whatever it takes. And then the next verse says, and you should imitate me as I imitate Christ. So here's Paul saying, you need to copy me. That Greek word imitates the word miti, which means carbon copy. And we have to ask ourselves, is our walk with God worth copying? And he's talking about winning the lost, getting them to. Jesus literally just told us to do 2 things: love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. And then the other thing he told us to do is to go into all the world and preach the gospel, and make disciples of all nations. Everything hangs on those 2 things. I think the church, and I'm not bashing any group, because I just don't like that philosophy of everyone complaining about the church, because you are the church.
Right.
And I don't like talking trash about somebody's wife. That's
Yeah.
Jesus' wife.
Right.
I don't like when people talk trash about my wife. You're going to get knocked out.
Right.
But reality is, it became very performance oriented. We become very intolerant to sinners. We look at people and we're more comfortable around our own kind. That's not just race, but it is race in some churches.
And then even what you went through with your dad, what your dad went through in the church, just a bad experience.
There's
right?
a lot of that.
And I mean, there's one thing that I always have tried to do, and this is just, and it's not to toot my own horn, but I always, we hear those stories. You've heard them a million times from people. Well, I went to that church, or I went to this church. They burned me over there, or they let me down over there, or they didn't do this, or whatever it may be. And it church hurt is a real thing. But one thing I always try to do is that person that has the church hurt is, I want to be a good representation of Christ, of the church, right? So what I always try to do is, at least the bare minimum, this guy can maybe have all these issues with the church, but at least he can point at me and say, but Dave, is a good guy.
Right.
Right? Because there's always going to be a bad experience. There's always going to be something that's not right. We're human. But within the confines of the church, there's got to be some people that say no.
So there's like, let's just talk about this for a second. There's legitimate problems in some churches that just like, hey man, this is not cool. This is shady. But we tend to focus on the negative. For every bad experience, there's 100 good churches. Okay. So I'll tell people, like, let's just say you got hurt. Okay. What's the Bible tell you to do? If you don't forgive others, your Heavenly Father cannot and will not forgive you. The same mercy you show to others will be shown to you on Judgment Day. It's like, what good is it, Jesus said, if people love you the way you want to be loved? Anyone can do that. But blessed are you when people speak evil about you, blah, 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 and cause all kinds of problems for you. Great is your reward in heaven. And we hold people to a standard, even in church, so high that they can never make a mistake. And then, like, it was funny, your dad and me and our generation, we got in fist fights in that church. I mean, literally.
I've never seen you, like, get violent or anything like that, bro.
You're lying like
and never. I
busted Jeff Johnson's lip open on the basketball court because he took a swung at me. He was another, and he got stitches. And we were in church the next day, like, hey, bro. But the point I'm trying to make is, we were so radically saved. The attitude was, I'm not leaving, you leave. We've seen some stuff that happened, but the attitude was, we love God in this church so much. Now,
I love that fact because you guys were so sold out for the devil, for sin, for the gang, for drugs, for hard rock shows, whatever, punk rock shows, all that stuff. And then when you get saved and you give your life to God, then your guys is like, I like the way the attitude kind of adjusts. And
I believe Jesus,
for some things negative, right? Because you guys would bring that in the church sometimes. But for a lot of things, it was like, we were so sold out for this. Now we're sold out for this. The mindset switches, but the commitment and the dedication.
You can't give the devil more than you gave God.
Yeah.
We come to church and we're domesticated. We come to church now and we get off drugs and alcohol. If you want to get off drugs, I can go to Alcoholics Anonymous. But if you want to be a disciple of Jesus, go to the army of God. I mean, Apostle Paul killed Christians for a living. And then when he gets saved, he's casting out demons for a living. He was radical. He put his life on the line before, and he puts his life on the line then. God wants to, and here's the thing, we try to be like everybody else. Jesus saved you. Whether you're a church kid, God saved you to relate to other hurt church kids. Whether you came from the streets, he loves you and your testimony. He didn't want you to come in and be some little ultra, conservative little cool church kid now. It doesn't mean he wants to get the sin out, obviously, but he saves you for
a reason,
for a purpose. There's souls attached to everyone that get saved. There's people in my life that I'll run into that God puts in my path. That's why he saved me.
Right.
He's all knowing. If I can get this guy, I can get his cousin saved. I can get his family saved. I'll bless him with this job, and those people in that job will get saved. The call of God will come to him. God is so, and I don't care what anyone says, thinks so providential, providence, then you're at an AM, PM, and I'm going to make somebody there that's pumping gas on the other side, and you're going to look at them one day and tell them Jesus loves you, and there's a reason they're going to get saved. I look at life, there's no accidents. There's a reason for everything. And
it's good.
Well, if Christians, we're talking about where the church came from, you need
because we forget where we come from.
Absolutely,
right. I think I'm always thankful for the churches that are just. I'm not saying multicultural, and what I mean by culture, it's not just color, but different backgrounds, I should say, right? Because I always believe somebody's going to walk in with the punk rock background. Somebody's going to walk in with that guy. And we can relate, and they can say, "Oh,
right,
right."
But then also, like when I came, there was no
one
like
nobody
that.
Like
but what was that? I look back at that. I was an enigma that tested the hardcore Chicanos. Are you going to love a guy like me? So like God will bring people different to churches that have a strong culture and bring people different. But it's like, you know, man, I'm going to say some stuff. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, but we get the all-white church, the all-black church, the all-Hispanic church. You know what? If that's the neighborhood you live in, and geographically where you live, and that's predominantly it, I can possibly understand that. But, you know, we live in this time like, wait a minute, can somebody different walk in there and feel loved? Or is the culture so about your culture versus kingdom culture?
Oh.
Because I read in the book of Galatians, there's neither Jew nor Gentile, nor free, nor slave, a barbarian, wise, male, female in God's kingdom. And sometimes we're so quick to live, you know, our people, our culture, and so forth. But I thought I was your brother.
Do you think the church is afraid? I mean, we just don't know how to relate to people.
I think the world right now, especially, is going backwards, trying to tribe everybody up. It's trying to segregate everybody up. That's the spirit of the world. The spirit of the world's wicked, evil, racist, vengeance, evil, and that's always trying to affect the church. And I'm personally burned out seeing pastors becoming activists instead of preachers. Jesus sets people free. You cannot be hateful or a racist at all and be a Christian. You should be able to make room for anybody.
No. This is good.
Love covers a multitude. Look at Pastor, the church we got saved in. This Oklahoma guy, the legend is he didn't even know what a taco was. Comes to L.A. All the white people in Southeast L.A. don't want no one in the church. They get mad because he wants to reach everybody. And all these gang members get saved. Why do they go? Because love covers a multitude of sins.
He just loved the guys.
He just loved guys and believed in them and gave them a chance. And so people ask me, because our church is very multiracial. I'm proud.
So you pastor the church, just so everybody out there knows, you pastor a church, Kansas City, The Cure.
The Cure Church.
Now, if you look on your guys' Instagram, it is multicultural.
Yeah, I'm about a third black, third white, third Hispanic, and a bunch of other people. But you don't even think. We don't even think about it. Never target anything, because people will come, especially in the Bible Belt. Churches are a little
segregated.
Some of them, not as bad as when I first came to the Midwest, but like it just never crossed my mind. Maybe it's because I'm from LA. When I was like, the part of LA I grew up in, all my friends were different.
Those mixed.
Maybe just, I never felt prejudice inside of me. You know, sometimes people think punk rockers are, no, man, there was like black punk rockers. There was like Mexican punk rockers, Asian punk rockers.
It's almost weird because they were more accepted than the cholos or the surfers. The punk rock, you're a punk rocker, that's it. It's not you're a white punk rocker.
Like you said, if you're a Raider fan, you're in. You're a punker, we got your back.
That's why I love Raider fans.
You would see punk rockers getting beat up, and you'd run over and defend them just because they were punk rockers.
Right. That probably bled into how you pastor now.
Probably.
So, like you said,
did not
God uses those things?
Didn't God use the wisdom that Moses learned in Egypt to lead the people of God out?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. God took that whole thing of him being a commander and so forth, and he was able to command people. God, he wants your testimony. He wants to use your life. You don't have to, you need to quit sinning, but God wants to use you. He loved you. He chose you.
I think we're missing that in the church, how valuable people are just for who they are or where they come from, right? I'm going to be pretty blunt about this, and I'm not trying to, but I've talked to guys that have grown up in the church, and there was a time when you were only somebody if you were pastoring. And as a young guy growing up in the church, I always felt that. And what helped me dispel that a lot was the impact my dad made on men's life, right? And wherever they went, they're pastors. Some of them are just good brothers in the Lord, good fathers, good husbands. That impacted my life when I started seeing the impact he made. And I said, okay. And not to say, but it was a time when you had to be a cookie cutter type deal to be somebody.
Right. Well, for your listening audience that may not understand that, because on the flip side, most churches won't even raise up preachers and give people an opportunity. Okay. So your listeners got to understand the culture that you're speaking about was we sat under somebody that believed that God can use you. And we bought in. God, you want to use me? Like you said, the devil used me, my family. I used people. Now God wants to use me. I'm all in. And yes, and thank God for somebody who spoke into our life. Who he used to say these words: "If you don't do better than me, I failed you." I remember him saying them all the time. And he was a true spiritual father at heart. And he could have had even a bigger, massive ministry if he never sent people out. But he raised up guys, spiritual sons, and sent them out to start churches. And like any movement, it starts off sovereign, God moves, but then it becomes a tradition. And then a tradition, that's how denominations, everything gets started. And then all of a sudden, what was sovereign now becomes a ritual. And then you're right, this great thing that God did for the guys that were not called felt less than. And that was hard on guys because obviously not everyone's called to go out. And then if you go when you're not, and then there's guys that would go out to pastor, they're not called, and that causes a lot of damage. It causes your family damage. It causes all kinds of problems. Sure. And so forth. I don't have a problem with the effort that somebody wanted to try, but I do know, like you said, guys that felt less than. But then I go on the flip side where guys are in other churches that don't even give an opportunity, sure, and they can't even fathom that God wants to use them, and God does want to use them. They're not even given the opportunity. There's a balance.
How do you keep that balance in your church?
I try to give dignity to something that I seen that we missed, to mid-level leadership. Leaders within the church trying to bring dignity. There is no Moses without an Aaron. Okay, I
always say this, Paul, and the like Albert did in your life, right? Ananias, regular guy.
Yep.
God tells him, go and see this guy Saul, and Ananias. I love the human element in the Bible. Because Ananias says,
like, that dude's crazy.
He's like,
he killed my cousin.
This guy? Like, are you sure? Like, he's. I could see myself saying that. Like, Lord, are you sure? And he goes, and he's early discipler of Paul. I mean,
absolutely
right. Shows him the way.
Then he presents him to the other guys, and they're like, whoa, who you bring in the church? You know what I mean?
But the like you said, the dignity. Well, he's only mentioned for a little bit in the Bible, right?
Yeah, but there is no Paul without that guy.
Yeah.
Paul be still walking around blind.
So you.
Yeah.
There's really no you without.
There's no way without Albert, absolutely. And
so we bring dignity to
yes,
those people.
So absolutely. And I think in our early, and here's the thing, it was interesting. Like I told you, tradition becomes little religious things form in a church when God moves, and you don't see them. But like if you went to the church, the big church that we came out of, there was great mid-level leaders there, okay, that stayed and did good, okay, like your dad, okay, and a lot of guys came through him that went on to pastor, right. And he was just a great pillar in the church, a great leader in the church, but then. But when the other guys go out, the pressure of feeling it,
sure,
and you have to be intentional with that. That they don't have to go. So like your experience with that, you and I can talk about this, but most of the church world doesn't even know what we're talking about because they sit in churches where you come on Sunday, hear a message, and you go home, and right. no one's discipling, no one's working with you, no one's holding you accountable. And so
where's the balance there?
I think I think the balance is love. You know what I mean?
Love and concern, right?
Absolutely. You better love these folks. Preachers better know that they don't own people. They're Jesus's people. Okay? So you send someone out, you don't own them. You're there as a steward, but the people say you're in a church the other way, just a regular Sunday church, and there's people called in that church, and you're not giving them an opportunity, you don't own them. They're God's people. You were commanded in the book of Ephesians, it says, Christ gave gifts to the church, some apostles, some prophets, some pastors, some evangelists, teachers, for the equipping of the saints, for the work of the ministry. Our job is to equip people to find their calling. Okay? So you can't make them just into something like you only if they're not called to be a pastor. But at the same time, you're not equipping nobody if you don't create a culture for them to find their calling in another church where it's just like a community, Lord forgive me, seeker-sensitive type ministry.
How did you know you were called?
I heard somebody preach at a conference, and they preached about it, and literally the heart was, I remember it clearly, God, you would use me like that? And I remember going to the altar and just make, God, if it's you and you would use me, I'll do whatever. I do whatever. And I made I prayed some radical prayers. You got to be brave enough to pray, God, if you want to use me. He may not use you that capacity.
Is this the punk rock attitude?
You know what? I would say
I'm down.
It might be, but it was also the very grateful attitude what I came out of.
Yeah.
It was also like, man, God,
you say me,
I'll do
I have to give back.
Anything you say. And yeah. So I think every Christian, though, not everyone's called, but everyone is called. Jesus said we're all called to go into all the world. We actually probably need to pray, are we called to stay? You know, the reality should be like, God, I'm willing to do whatever you say. If that means pull over and pray for that person. I laid hands on a cop the other day over in Redondo Beach at a Starbucks and told him I appreciated everything that he's done, and I know you're getting a hard time, and I just started ministering over him wherever I'm at. It can't always be on the stage.
Right. It takes place more than it's beyond the stage. Right?
I shared the story the other day. 2 weeks ago, I had my conference in Kansas City, and I had my pastors at a nice restaurant. We're all meeting, and you have all these waiters serving us at the restaurant. How hypocritical would it be for them to serve a bunch of pastors and we don't pray for them or witness to them? To me, it's just like ridiculous. So I started talking to a few of them, and I talked to this one young man, and he was polite, but he said, I tried going to church. It's really judgmental and blah, blah, blah. And it just came out of me. I go, so you're hurt because you're gay? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, you got hurt because you're gay and the church treated you bad. And he goes, I can't believe you said that. And I go, are you gay? And he goes, well, yeah. And I go, okay, let me pray with you. And I said, you should come to my church. Now, before someone thinks, oh, does he allow that? No, I don't allow, but like a drug addict, anybody else coming,
you invite them the same.
You invite them the same, and like, Lou, just come check it out. No one's going to like point at you and so forth. But most Christians will go into a restaurant, and instead of offering to pray for somebody, they'll just point over there and say, oh, that guy's gay. But they won't even witness to him. And, that's why these people in those lives are tired of church. You got to love people where they're at.
Right.
I'll go out and eat with anybody. Number one, I don't lift weights, I lift plates, so that ain't a problem. But like, Jesus was a friend with sinners. If you read the New Living Translation or the Message Translation, the encounter with Jesus with Matthew the tax collectors, the Pharisees literally say, how could your master eat with such scum? This is Jesus. He was always eating. He wasn't sinning with them, but he was with people.
Okay, what is the difference though? Because people use that all the time, right? They use the scripture of Jesus was with sinners,
Yeah, but he didn't.
But he didn't sin.
He didn't partake with them.
right?
And what's the famous one? But he turned the water to wine. And they make that look like Jesus started a kegger party. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
let's all get down. No, that's not what happened. You got to know Jewish culture. Okay, I'm not a drinker. I don't believe in drinking. I don't think a Christian should drink. I know there's an argument on the other side, but let me tell you why I chose that. Number one, I came from that. Number two, I don't want to be an example and use my freedom that may cause somebody else to stumble, period. But in the Bible, alcohol, wine was not strong. You had fruit of the vine. You had intoxicating alcohol. You had good water and bad water. You didn't have Pepsi, Coke, soda. You had all these other options you can get somewhere. And then this is a wedding. A Jewish wedding could last for several days. Then on top of that, if you study the Greek word there, it is debatable how fermented that was when it's referring to the sweeter, the better. It was fermented. That's a whole nother, depending on what commentary you read. But it's a sin for a Jew to be drunk, especially a wedding is a holy day to a Jew. So Jesus didn't turn the water to wine for people to get drunk. Now let's flash forward 2,000 some years later. Americans drink to get a buzz.
Right.
We don't. You do. Don't sit there. You're listening, saying you don't. I just need to relax. What do you call that? You get a buzz. Right. Go pray in the Holy Ghost, man. Relax in Jesus.
Yeah.
Put some music on. Do something else.
Right.
So it's just not worth it to me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to condemn people that go that route, but it's just like let me just say it like this. I can not give you one story how alcohol helped anybody in their Christianity. And I can give you thousands of stories how it destroyed people in their marriage, their business, their leadership, and their walk with God. So why do it?
I've never drank. I can tell my kids that. When my dad got saved, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing. There's some integrity that goes with that. And at least to say, no, I never did it. That's it. I don't, like you said, I don't see where it benefits anything.
Yeah. And again, here's the problem though. You would think in today's culture, if you don't drink, a Christian would be like, you know what, that's good for you. I don't. No, but Christians that do, you're legalistic. Why? I'm not even telling you not to do it.
Yeah.
Why does it get you mad that I don't? Because whenever you do something that someone else is not doing, they love to throw that word legalistic.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
I want to switch lanes here. You mentioned you can't be an activist and be a Christian.
No, I didn't say that. I said preachers shouldn't be activists. You're called to preach the gospel.
You're called to preach the gospel. It's very hard not to see what's going on in the world. I told somebody this the other day. You get riled up about rights being taken away, or this is going on, that all this craziness going on, right? And you wanna post about it, or you want to say something about it. And I told a guy the other day, I go, you just don't want to have that message louder than the gospel message.
Right.
And a lot of people are being activists, and maybe they mean well. I don't know.
Well, people can be activists. That's the
But then you lose the gospel in there.
Well, do we believe the gospel answers everything?
Yes.
Do we believe Jesus is the answer for everything? Well, if you do, then why are we given some substitute? So let me tell you a thought and a story that goes with what you're saying. When I said what Paul said, I try to please everyone to save some. The verse prior to that, he says, give no offense to the Jew or the Greek or the Gentile. Let me go further. Or the Democrat or the Republican or the liberal or the conservative. Just do whatever it takes to get someone saved. In other words, we'll stand on things and post some things that we know is going to upset people and hit their tough points instead of just sharing the gospel. And yeah, we all have our views when it comes to the political arena in America. That's what makes America great. And yeah, I have some strong views about what I believe, okay? But am I going to do something and not put that before the gospel, like you said? So,
because you could lose some people.
Oh,
right?
yeah. But let me tell you. So I live in a predominantly black area in Kansas City, Kansas. At least churches, especially. And so in 2015, before the 2016, well, actually, it was, right before the election, 2015 was towards the end when Trump was getting elected the first time. And the mayor actually used to pastor a church directly across the street from me. And it was a Methodist church that was a very pro-homosexual church, membership and ministry. But he was my friend. He wasn't gay. He had a family. And he knew we agreed to disagree about how far Christianity goes on things like that. But we were friends. And our church is very well known in the community. And he had the mayor's prayer breakfast, which I was invited to. And I remember there was about 60, 70 of us preachers there. Probably 85% of them, 90% were all black. And he wanted to talk to us after the meeting. And we were all in the back room. And before he talked to us, he had everyone go around the room, say their name, and how long they've been pastoring the church. And it just took me a few minutes to realize, oh my God, I'm the old dude now. I've been here longer than most of these dudes. Okay? And so he starts talking about Obamacare. We're going to lose Obamacare. We need you guys to tell your church this, this, and this. And I don't care if you're for it or not, but he was just saying this because this is going to affect us. And he's trying to get the preachers to push this agenda. So I get this thought in my head. Everyone knows me because we do the dramas. We've had 80,000 people get saved at just our Hell Night drama over the years. The whole town knows us. So I raise my hand. Okay? He's looking at me. And I realize he cannot not call on me in this setting we're in. And he's looking at me and he goes, Pastor Kelly, do you want to say something? And I said, yeah, I do. So we're talking about activism, Christianity, right? How do you balance it? And I said, I known some of you for years. You know who I am in our church, but I'm going to take a moment. I feel like I need to share my story. I just feel it. And I said, I talked about for a moment robbing, selling drugs, ODing, causing chaos, a menace to society. And I go, and then somebody opened up the garage and shared the gospel with me. And I go, you know what happened? Stop selling drugs. I stopped stealing. Stopped robbing. You know what happened after that? I got a job. I paid taxes. You know what happened after that? I got married. I started a family. I became a productive member of society because of the gospel. And I looked at all those preachers in front of the mayor. I go, Mayor, we're not insurance salesmen. I go, you guys want to save our community? That month, it was during the Ferguson stuff going on in St. Louis. And that's right where we're at. And I go, we had 2 cops killed within 4 weeks. We haven't had a cop killed in our police station in like 20 some years. And I said, you guys want to make a difference? I go, preach the gospel. Get your people out of the building. And I said, this Saturday, I'm going to be at City Hall praying if you want to come. We had 500 people show up.
Wow. Real activism. Gospel activism.
Well, we prayed. My church, a few other people, and we did what we did. Now, I mean that's what counts. And so I mean, really, when I say politics, and I get it, in certain communities in the church, we're so concerned about things. Is the gospel good enough? But we say, yeah, but this is happening. Yeah, but that's happening. We're talking about heaven or hell issues here. We're talking about people are going to go to hell. That's more important than anything else. And we believe that Jesus saves people. We believe Jesus delivers people. We believe that Jesus can heal a marriage. We believe Jesus can heal a body. We believe Jesus can break addictions. He can get hate out of people's hearts and violence out of people's hearts. And yeah, that's why, when you're from the pulpit and you're being an activist and, when everyone does this stuff, I remember people getting mad at me when all this stuff was happening with George Floyd. I was just posting scriptures, love your enemies. And I get slandered. Just post that scripture. You're on the wrong side of history. I go, what are you talking about? I posted a scripture. You know what I mean? It's like, I have a problem. We're talking about church people. When you get political, you're always opposed to the other side. And it's horrible when Christians act like they would be mad if those people went to heaven. You have so much rage in you about the other side that you are so mad at them, you treat them like you'd get mad if they went to heaven. It's bizarre to see some Christians so mad at people. It's like they're not witnessing to them. They're not loving them. They're not trying to come down to their level and talk about the love of God. They're just talking about the wrongs. Forget about all the wrongs we have. He who has no sin cast the first stone. I'm not justifying police brutality, racism, Antifa, Proud Boys. I don't care what you want to label it. At the end of the day, man, these are people.
Yeah.
You see this, come on, church splits, people just slander each other at church. Like, oh my God, do you even have Jesus?
It's sad because you go to a new church and you gotta ask, is this a woke church? Meaning, are they more focused on
happens to me all the time?
Are they
now.
more Are they more activists? Are they more the gospel? And
I was actually shocked because when you pastor your own church, you're not around other churches that much. That the last couple years, 2 years especially, people come to me and say those exact words. Do you believe this? And I go, no, I believe the gospel.
Right.
Okay, cool. And then sometimes it's the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't want, like I said earlier, everybody wants God on their side, both sides. I want God on my side. I don't even want God on my side. I want to be on his side.
Right.
And God is about social justice. Okay, I didn't see Jesus doing that stuff. You know what I mean?
It's about his father's business.
Exactly. And God's about this. And like, whether it's preaching, whether it's social justice, there's all of it, taking care of the benevolent ministry. But at the end of the day, it's about repentance.
Yeah, you can save somebody's life. But what good is that if you what's
the profit of man if he gets whatever he wants in life and dies and goes to hell? How serious is this? Well, let's see. Everyone wants to talk about Jesus. Let's talk about Jesus. If your right arm make you sin, cut it off. Or it's better to go to heaven with one arm than go to hell with two. So there's one verse in the Bible, when I do some of my altar calls, I bring up. I call it the most important verse in the Bible. It's Revelations 20, verse 8. Okay? All the first verses are all about heaven. And then all of a sudden he says, but the cowardly, the abominable, the murderers, the sexually immoral, the idolaters, and all the liars shall have their part in the lake of fire. Why is that an important verse? That's a list of everyone who goes to hell. You don't want to be on that list. Who are the first ones on the list? The cowardly. Who are the cowardly? They're not unbelievers. The unbelievers are the second ones on the list. So that means everyone else on that list has knowledge. Or else they wouldn't identify unbelievers as unbelievers. So who are the cowardly? If you study in the Greek, they totally know who Jesus is. They know the truth. They know the truth. They know he died, rose again, but they're too afraid to serve him. They even go to church. Understand, Jesus said, if you're ashamed of me before men, I'll be ashamed before my heavenly Father. I know preachers don't want to talk about this. They're not getting people ready. If you deny me before men, these are people that don't want to serve God all the way because they know it's going to embarrass. They're going to lose friends, family. They're afraid to let their light shine. They're the lukewarm Christians. It's going to cost them money, the job, to let them know. That's a big deal. I mean, I didn't put these. This is written in red. This is Jesus stuff here. Okay? Then the next one's unbelievers. America, you can believe what you want to believe. But you're on a list whether you believe it or not. The next one on the list, well, it says the murderers. And we look at murderers like killing and drive-by, which it is. But what does Jesus call murder in the New Testament? You have to filter some of these sins through the New Testament. Jesus says if you hate somebody, you've committed murder in your heart. And I know a lot of Christians that hate people. They'll use that Christian lingo. I love them, but I just don't like them. You're fooling yourself. Jesus says if there's a problem with somebody, leave your gift at the altar and go make peace with that person. Don't even pray. Okay? If you don't forgive others, your heavenly Father cannot and will not forgive you. It's New Testament murder, unforgiveness. He goes on and says, how can you say you love God who you haven't seen? You hate your brother who God made in his own image. The love of God's not in you. So that tells me if you're racist, I don't care how much you preach. You talk down on another race and you're in a church, you are not going to heaven. I don't care how anointed you think you are, you're not. According to that scripture, you're not. And what else? This is another thing that's been hijacked political. Abortion's murder. It's murder. If you're a Christian, it's murder, because we believe life is at conception, and he knew us before we were in our mother's womb. So, it's funny. It's not a baby when you want an abortion. It's a fetus. But the minute you want to have a family, I'm pregnant, I have a baby coming. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And then the next one on the list is the abominable. It's a big word. But in the Greek, it literally means the epitome of worldliness. That's what it really means. Those that are so consumed with all the pleasures and desires and the things of this world, they have no time for God. Okay? Think about that. We live in a time, they know the Kardashians by name, but not the apostles. Christians. They're so consumed. They have no time for church, no time for God, no time, because there's always something going on in the world. And this is the only generation, you don't have to be a Christian and go to church. Well, that's fine. That may be your belief, but there's not one person in the New Testament that didn't go to church in the New Testament. Church doesn't save you, but the fruit of salvation, everyone goes to church to learn, to serve God, and so forth.
Because it got weird, right? During the last year. A lot of people said we don't need the church.
Yeah, it did.
And it almost played into the enemy's hand, basically. We need church.
It did for some. We do. As imperfect it is, you get to be like Jesus and forgive people. Okay? So you got that. Then, I forgot one. And then it says the sorcerers. What is that word? We think of Harry Potter and witchcraft, but that Greek word is the word pharmakia. This is why I think this is the most important. This is a good one to bring up here in California. The word sorcerer in the Greek, which that was written, is the word pharmakia, where we get the word pharmaceutical drugs. That word, that root meaning of that word literally means intoxication, getting high, getting loaded, being drunk, being intoxicated. Like we talked about alcohol. You go and go down that road. That's in the Bible. And we live in this time where you hear, God made weed. Well, he made sharks, and you don't swim with sharks. Okay? Just because something's legal, it doesn't mean it's righteous in God's kingdom. Okay? And now there's Christians, you don't understand. Well, but it's better than opiates. Well, don't take opiates either. Don't abuse prescription drugs either. Okay, you're getting high. You're getting high. Now, just straight out, that's what it means. So you can call it whatever you want. And here's the problem, Dave. People, the approach, just what I'm saying, is an American Christianity is, what can I get away with and still go to heaven?
Yeah. How much can I toe the line?
Yeah, instead of that's like me telling my wife, I don't want to commit adultery on that girl, but can I French kiss her? I won't sleep with her. Adultery's grounds for divorce, not French kissing, babe. My wife's from Cuba. She'll cut me. And then, she's going to tell me no. Well, can I just kiss her on the lips?
Yeah.
No. Well, can I hug her, just embrace her chest? No. Well, we're the church, and we're telling the Lord, I don't want to backslide, but can I just kiss the world?
Yeah.
Look at me. We're the bride of Christ. We're his wife. And we're saying, and we forget, he says, if you commit adultery on me, he says, if you're adultery, you're my enemy. And then the next one on the list is, the idolaters. And usually we look at, you come back from the Catholic Church, idols or some pagan thing, idolatry, which that's it. But Jesus said idolatry is anything, any circumstance, any person you put before walk with God. So there's people, if you don't love your mother, father, brother, sister, you love them more than me, you cannot be my disciple. And I've heard people say, I can't serve God because of my wife. I can't serve God because of my job. I can't serve God because of my parents. I can't serve God because of this or what I'm going through. And I got to get the, whatever. It's funny. I can't serve God because of my job. Well, get a new job. Not all money's good money. Yeah, I mean, God care? Well, if you're saying you can't serve God, it's not worth it. Right. And then the last one on the list is, and all the liars shall have their part in the lake of fire. All the liars. It says it. So we have to ask us, do you lie? And then, do you lie to the government? Do you lie to your family? Do you lie at school? Do you lie at your job about your hours or anything? Jesus said Satan is the father of all lies. If we want to take that at face value, but that scripture actually scared me when I read that as a young man. Every lie is birthed through Satan. So I tell people, live your life not to be on that list. You want to know where you're at? Go to verse 8. I mean, how many times do you have to lie to be a liar? I mean,
once.
So, that's the thing, though. We've watered it down. Now, are we going to be perfect? No, we're not going to be perfect. We're going to have issues. And here's the other thing. I'm not trying to sound... How many preachers talk about this stuff?
I was going to ask you that. A lot of preachers... me and you have talked about this before. You've been pastoring how long?
Going on 28 years. September.
Almost 30 years. Okay. You've been full-time how many of those years?
Over 20.
Over 20.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, long time.
And what you just said, a lot of preachers will not preach that. They won't preach sin. They won't preach, I would say, what a lot of people consider hard, right? Or demand. Just what the word says.
This is what my new book's about.
Okay. So, and it's a lot of times it's because maybe they are full-time. There's no way.
Oh, there's money issues involved.
Okay.
We don't want to lose people.
Right. So I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was telling me, the reason why he doesn't go to church is because the pastors take the dough, or they're in it for the wrong thing. And I said, not every pastor, and me and you know a lot of pastors, and there is a great number of pastors that struggle and are work full-time jobs for 20 years, right?
Bivocational pastors are my heroes.
Right. But I was thinking about you. You're full-time. There's probably no way you're going to go out and get a job. But a lot of preachers look at that and go, I can't preach hard. I got to stay in this lane because there is an income coming in.
There's probably...
How dangerous
is
is that? For not only the pastor, but the congregation.
Well, here's the deal. Number one, I tell people, the most dangerous thing you can do as a pastor, open up the New Testament and just read the epistles. Read 1 Corinthians 5 through 7. Kicking people out of the church. Don't even eat with somebody who calls himself a brother, who's a liar, extortioner, drunkard. They don't even read those scriptures. Now, I want to bring balance to this. I don't think you should beat up people, everything. So, there is a strong, just condemning spirit behind hard preachers.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to, you have to preach the truth that you don't have to be that way. Jesus came to set you free, and there's hope. But here's the problem, though. You got to live what you're preaching. And if you're not living what you're preaching, it's hard to preach about it. And, celebrity Christianity's been pretty interesting. And, I would just hate to have people. What do you do? They don't even have churches. And again, if someone's listening,
Well, what keeps you from going that route? Celebrity Christian, whatever it may be, just a pastor that...
I want to be relevant, Dave. I want to be relevant. I want to have, what you would call a cool, relevant church. But can you be relevant without compromise?
Yes.
Presentation of relevance is like, okay, we don't use the old transparencies.
Right.
Okay, we have a screen with it. Okay, relevance is, I no one wears ties no more. I don't wear a tie. I'm not against people wearing ties. It's just like, whatever, come dress nice.
That's not the style. No.
Okay, some people get hung up on that, okay? But can you be relevant and still tell the truth? And can you still, just as much hard truth, can you have that much hardcore love and grace?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So I've seen some that are so hardcore truth, and for instance, my wife, when she was a young girl she was here already for years, and she was in Miami, she's Cuban, and she walked up to a church. They wouldn't let her in the building because she was wearing shorts. She's not even saved. Pastor came out and said, "You're not coming to my building wearing shorts." That's a little over the top. This didn't even know nothing about it. You're asking someone to behave before they even believe. Okay. But, on the flip side, and there's nothing wrong with shorts, at least how short are those shorts? They're like thongs now. Okay. But my point being is like, back to we talked earlier, grace and righteousness. Right. So, but there's some churches they don't even give an invitation for repentance. So let me get this straight. We go to church. You don't tell me I have to be right with God. I don't have to repent of my sins when that was Jesus' first words that came out of his mouth. Repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. First words that came out of his mouth. Okay, it's all over the Bible. And then we don't even give an invitation for somebody to accept Christ, which was a common practice, because we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. We don't want to embarrass them. So basically, I'm up there telling my stories, sharing a little bit of scripture. See you later. They'll find their own. How are they going to find their way? Right. The Bible says, how will they be saved without a preacher? So if you don't tell them, and then let's say, if even a preacher believes, I don't even know if preachers believe in the rapture anymore, if Jesus is coming back. Because I don't hear about that. I don't hear sermons about hell. I don't hear sermons about the rapture. Jesus spoke twice as much about hell than he did heaven. How are we not saying what Jesus said? He's 1 out of every 25 verses in the New Testament speak about the return. 1 out of every 25. How come we're not talking about that in the time we live today? Because I think you kind of hit a nerve. We got into this. We want our churches to grow, and I think the relevant message 30 years ago turned into some of this big old, it's become a machine. But if you go back like to some of the churches earlier, 80s, 70s, and 60s, there were some big churches, but they were preaching harder truth. And I believe with all false information and fake news out there, people are hungry for the truth. Yeah. And I believe the pendulum's swinging.
Yeah.
I believe I have people every week come to my church and say they were part of another ministry and just like, I don't hear stuff like this no more. I want to come. I'm not challenged. And
it's almost like you.
How mad would you be, Dave, if you sat in church for all these years and never told you had to be saved, and then you stand before God and you go to heaven?
Yeah.
And, how about this? And you paid your tithes. You gave money to be lied to.
You almost, when you preach the truth, you breed a better Christian, right? And you begin to, it's like going to you build this hardened, and I mean that by like a toughness. Like they get it. They know they're going to last. If you preach softly, they're not going to last. They're not going to last.
Yeah, I mean,
they'll be okay with coming Sunday, but they won't last.
We're challenged in the Bible. Paul tells Timothy, reprove, exhort, chastise, rebuke with long suffering. One modern translation says, love, show mercy, point out their sins. I didn't even know this stuff was sin until someone told me it was sin.
Right.
And if I don't know it's sin, how do I repent of it?
It's good.
You know, I don't know. People, that's how I got saved. That's how I sat under that. And when you asked about preachers, it took me a while. I'm a preacher, and I want my church to grow like anybody else, but I want it to grow right. And for me, I want the unchurched, the backslidden, to come to God. I'm open to whoever wants to come. People transfer growth and all that. But Christianity, you look up these statistics, is the slowest growing religion in America. It is the slowest.
Yeah.
Last year in 2020, there was more churches ever in American history that closed down because of the pandemic and never reopened. That's a big issue.
It's huge.
Huge. So churches closed. Christians never came back. Pastors left. On average, in 2018, 1,700 preachers quit the ministry every month in America, according to Focus on the Family. Wow. So we have an issue here. We're not strong. Okay. Now that will that happen? Times change. Whatever. I mean, if you believe in the Bible, that's a problem. If you care about souls, you care about people going to heaven. You know, most Christians just look at the TV and they're angry at what they see on the TV and complain, but never tell no one about Jesus. We can't put it all on the preacher because we have our own. I have a Bible app with every language of every translation on my phone.
Yeah.
There's Bibles everywhere, YouTube videos, Christianity's everywhere, internet, TV, radio. You're over churched. Yeah. You're over churched, and you're doing less than ever before. I mean, I would challenge anyone that's hearing this. You know, when you die and stand before God, He's not going to ask you if you were a Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal. He's not going to ask you any of that. Did you do that? He's going to ask you, what did you do with my son? What did you do with Jesus? He's going to. Did you follow His command of going into all the world and preaching the gospel? You're going to have an eternal reward, and your life, is like this. This looks small, like 80 years. I call this 80 years. But when you compare that to eternity in the kingdom of God or hell, that's nothing. Yeah. That's nothing. And we're
80 years. If the Bible says that one day is like 1,000.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 years, right?
I guess Jesus only been gone for 2 days.
Yeah. And 80 years is only 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. But, and I get it. We're so worried about Christians, and we're more worried about how to live than how to die. And, what about the scripture? If the ungodly are not saved, how much harder is it for the righteous? Can't ignore these scriptures. Wide and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many are on it. Short and narrow is the road that leads to life, and few find it. Jesus uses the words many and few. According to Jesus, the loving Savior, compassionate man on the cross, the baby in the manger, says many people are going to hell. Few are going to heaven. And there's probably somebody out there. Why would God send anyone to hell? He's not sending nobody to hell. You're choosing not to serve Him. You're choosing not to accept Him as the sacrifice for your sins. He loves you. He came to earth because He loved us. He came to earth for our souls. He didn't have to. And if you're out there hearing all this churchy talk, I guess the question is, before you because I know a lot of people that are not Christian that watch your podcast, and that's awesome. But before you get all mad and judgmental about what we're saying, let me ask you, where's your life at right now? Are you totally happy where you're at? Is the relationships fulfilling your heart? Or you still got an emptiness? Is the alcohol, the drugs, the concerts, how you live your life the way you want, how good is it? Oh, you may have a house, but, do you have a home? You know, you may have a bed, but are you sleeping well at night? Your soul. You know what I mean? How's your family? You know, so I believe that gap God creates. We try to fill it with knowledge, school, relationships, drugs, money. For every Friday we get paid, and every Monday we're empty. And my deal is this. Jesus is the perfect gap. He wants us to be a little empty to find him. He says, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness shall be filled. And if you're watching this or listening to this, I'm glad you stayed on. But this is what it's about. It's about you. Jesus loves you where you're at. And if you're a Christian, or let me say this, rephrase it, not everyone's a Christian. Just because you go to church doesn't mean you're a Christian. Just like going to Tommy Burger don't make you a Tommy Burger. You may look like one after a while, but you ain't one.
The spot.
Yeah, I love Tommy's, bro. But at the end of the day, you got to surrender your life to Jesus. And everything that you're mad about, everyone that burned you, everything, none of that's going to matter when you stand before God. None of that's going to matter. And if you're a Christian, stop being mad. Go get somebody saved. Quit giving up on your family. Go fast. Go pray. I mean, if I'm, you remember Penn and Teller? Who's the big one? Penn, right? Or no, Teller. Teller's the big one, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. You've probably seen this.
Penn's the big one?
Penn?
Penn's the big one.
Okay. You've probably seen this video. You need to look it up. This blew me away. I showed this in my church. He's after a show, and he's got tears in his eyes. And he goes, I wanted to make this video real quick. And he goes, I just got done with the show, and this guy walked up to me. And he's holding in his hand, he goes, this guy gave me this Bible. It's a little Gideon Bible. And he goes, he gave me this New Testament. And he goes, he was not a weirdo. He was not some religious freak guy. And he goes, I want to tell you, man, I really enjoyed your show. Your comedy and your magic was awesome. But I feel in my heart, I want to give you this Bible so you can know Jesus and you can be forgiven. And it's Penn, right?
Yeah.
He goes, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in this. But I was so touched because he believed in it so much that he cared enough for me. And he goes, how much do you have to hate somebody and believe in it and not tell them? So he goes, I'm not mad. I goes, I'm an atheist. He goes, but you guys are Christians and you don't tell nobody and you think people are going to hell? That's not love, that's hate.
That's straight from atheist.
From an atheist, bro. And he was emotionally moved by this guy. And, you know, you're a Christian and you have people you work with 8-10 hours a day. You see them every day, or you're on a route every other day, or you're in a class, or you're whatever. You have family. How about this? You want to go to China supposedly all the time. I want to do missions, but you've never knocked on your neighbor's door.
Wow.
I tell you, you want to go to China? Have you ever witnessed anyone at a Chinese restaurant? If you see your friends and family and coworkers at a second-story house and the bottom floor is on fire, and you walk by and they're all partying, having a good time, are you really going to just walk by? I don't want to bother them. I don't want to get them mad because they're having such a good time. But the bottom floor is burning out.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening. So when we're mad about riots in the streets, we believe Jesus can heal them, but you're not. You're yelling at the TV. God convicted me about this. Go out and do something. Go share the gospel. Go pray with a cop. Go pray with some young black man that's been burned by a cop. Paul says, I become all things to all people to win some. You know, it's got to be, no, it don't. You can witness to a young black man, a young Mexican man, a gay person. You can do anything. You don't have to partake in their sin. You can love them. That's what the world needs right now. Real Christianity.
Wow.
That's the guy that opened the door. and let me in his garage, let me in his house.
Yeah. That's hardcore.
And not to give a plug because it's not out yet, but my book, Hardcore Disciple, goes from this premise that it's hardcore to be a disciple. Not because it's hard in the Bible, it's because our culture's so soft now. It's hard to give up what the Bible tells us to. We've gotten so far away from it.
Man. It's good, man. That's street gospel.
It's fun.
It's good. I mean, we got one more thing.
What?
Thank you for coming.
Oh, dude, love you, bro.
We didn't talk Raiders, but that message, it's got to be one of the best messages that we've had on here. Just reminding us just to love people. Simple. Love God, love people. Fully.
Jesus loved the tax collector, the woman at the well. I mean, you know what relates to me? I know we got to stop, but Jesus at the Sea of Galilee, and he's got a big crusade going on. This has always humbled me. The Pharisees, religious people, miracles are happening, Mark chapter 4. And then out of nowhere, he gets on a boat. And he crosses the Sea of Galilee. Now, the sea, I've been there. It's not a sea. It's an actually freshwater lake. Very large, like the big lakes of Michigan. But there's storms in the Mediterranean that take out ships. And that's the story where the ship begins to toss. Jesus is asleep. His disciples freak out. They're worried about their personal life. And Jesus says, peace be still. But where was Jesus going? Why did he leave the church service? He's crossing there, and there's a man on the cliff chained up to a graveyard who's cutting himself, torturing himself, the Bible says, screaming at night, looking down from the graveyard, watching this. Because the Bible says when the boat ran to the shore, he ran down there and said, Son of David, have mercy on me. How did he know that? How did he know that? Well, he's watching this supernatural storm disappear. Jesus is on his way to a graveyard for a guy that his family locked up. His friends wanted nothing more to do with him because he was jacked up. He's rejected. Kind of reminds me of getting put in that hospital. Those chains represent man trying to tame us. And here's this guy, lonely. Imagine how he felt. Somebody put him there. Somebody said, we don't want to deal with you no more. And he sees this. And the church reminds me of the disciples. They're worried about their personal safety, while Jesus is worried about one soul. The guy runs down. Jesus sets him. You know, the demons go into the pigs. They run, jump off the cliff. And then the pig owners come. And what do they say? They walk right by that man. The Bible says he's in his right mind. They walk right by him and they yell at Jesus, get out of here. They don't even acknowledge that this guy that they gave up on is totally set free. They're more concerned about their job and their money than a life. We got to get back to human value. They didn't even care about this person. That's where we have to get back to. I mean, Jesus is the ultimate person. He loved those that nobody else wanted.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Man, I don't even... Got to get you back one day, man.
That's...
We got one more thing that we do.
What do we do?
It's the Furious 5, man.
Okay.
I know we were serious.
Oh, we can have fun.
But we can have some fun here, right? Now we can become furious.
Was I that deep, bro?
Hey, it was deep and good, though.
Yeah.
A great reminder. Furious 5, we asked 5 furious questions.
Can I put my hat on?
Put it on.
All right. Okay, I can't do it now. I was going to put my Raider hat on. Go ahead.
All right. Question number 1 on the Furious 5. If someone played you in a movie, who would it be? I have somebody already. Go ahead, though.
Young or old me?
Young you.
Edward Norton.
That's not bad.
I'm thinking of American History X.
Right? I was thinking more Nicolas Cage.
Oh, come on. Oh, yeah.
Valley Girl.
Valley Girl.
He was a punk rock dude, right?
That's
tall guy.
And my wife was
hair.
a Valley Girl, too.
There you go.
If you're going to say old, I was going to say
No,
Clint
no,
Eastwood, Gran Torino.
Oh, yeah. Old and grouchy.
Get off my lawn.
With an M1. Yeah. I want to be that guy sometimes. Question number 2. We talked about music.
Right.
Your favorite punk rock band of all time. Not that you listen to them now or anything like that, but who was your favorite punk rock band?
Man, I've asked that question a lot. First concert I went to, believe it or not, 12 years old, Kiss.
Kiss.
Oh, I loved Kiss when I was a little kid. But I would say probably, I
was afraid of Kiss.
Yeah.
I was afraid of Kiss.
I used to dress up like them at Halloween.
Bro.
Kiss was the gateway drug to other punk bands.
Okay. One time, we had these teenagers living in the apartments we used to live in. This is before my parents gave their life to God and everything. This one teenager goes, hey, go call so-and-so, one of the other kids, and I'll give you an album. And I had my little Hardy Boys record player, right? He gives me a Kiss album. I go and I put it on. I was probably like 5 years old, man. I freaked out and threw that out the window. My mom loves that story. She's like, you were afraid of that Kiss.
Punk band, I liked. Dead Kennedys, I liked Black Flag. I liked, GBH, some of the English bands. Probably one of my favorites, still, probably Bad Brains.
Bad Brains?
Yeah.
Nice. Question number 3. If you weren't a preacher, what would you be doing right now? Say you're saved, whatever. But
okay, what I would like to do?
Yeah.
An interrogator for a police department. I'd love to get somebody in a room and just rip them apart.
I know you're lying. You can't run this game of you. I used to run it.
I've actually thought about that. I'd love to be an interrogator.
Right. We laugh at the gym. I'm in this jiu-jitsu gym, and one of my buddies, one of my closest friends, he's there too, and he's an ex-con, ex-felon, whatever. And there was a cop that came. We didn't know he was a cop, and so we're laughing because I was laughing because he goes, he's a cop, and I go, he's not a cop. He goes, yeah, he's a cop. He ended up being a cop. I was like, I'm not good at that. You're good at that. But all right, question number 4. Your greatest accomplishment in life thus far.
Honestly, for me, celebrating 33 years of marriage.
Nice.
I'm humbled, never thought. I mean, yes, ministry, I'm setting that aside, pastoring and not quitting and staying safe. But I'm just so proud because I grew up with no father, no marriage, and being married that long. And I love my wife, and that just blows me away.
That's so good.
Yeah.
It's a great accomplishment. Question number 5, last one, the Furious 5. If you can go back to 12-year-old Kelly and tell him something, what would you tell him?
Funny, I'll do funny first. Stick with Kiss, they're never gonna die.
They're gonna live longer than you.
They're still going.
Yeah, they're still going.
But you know what? We talked about basketball. I had an epiphany when my son got older. I didn't realize how lonely I was. I used to have the pitch back. You throw the ball, pitch back.
Right.
When James was 6, I bought that for him. I told my that was one of my favorite things. And then the Lord spoke to me. I'm watching him play it. I got it for his birthday. Oh, Dad, this is awesome. And the Lord told me, why did you have that? And it hit me. Because I didn't have a dad to play catch with.
Oof.
Why was basketball your favorite sport? Why did you not play the other sports? Because baseball and football, you have to have someone to throw to. Basketball in the alley, I get my own rebound, and that's why I thrived. That's the fatherless sport. And I literally remember those moments at 12, like, dang, I can't do this. It was being an only child. And I would tell that 12-year-old, it doesn't have to be this way when you get older. Hang in there.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you, man.
Love you, bro.
Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. It was fun.
All the way from KC.
Yep.
That'll conclude episode number 30 with Pastor Kelly Lohrke, my friend. Check him out, The Cure Church, Kansas City.
Follow me on Instagram.
Follow him on Instagram. If you're a Raider fan, even better.
Absolutely.
He shows love to the KC fans, though. We were talking about this the other day. He said, he texted me and he says, what Raider jersey should I get? I told him, get Bo. He said, that's a good one.
Yeah, because he played for the Royals.
Because he played for the Royals. They got to show him love over there.
Show him love. And that makes them mad because they couldn't have him.
Good stuff, man. I appreciate you. Check out Pastor Kelly. Instagram. Check out his church, The Cure Church. Excellent movement going on there. He got some books out, From Punker to Pastor. Hardcore Disciple coming out.
Yep, pretty quick.
Definitely. Love you, man.
Love you too, bro.
We out.